March Madness has given us unreal Cinderella stories. Some were dominant, some were lucky, some were forgotten. And the one I'm about to talk about should have never even existed in the first place. Analysts were crying when they got in the field of 68. This team was called a joke. They had no business being there. These takes all aged like spoiled milk because this team went on to beat a team from 5 different power conferences on their crusade to the Final Four as a double-digit seed and a first 4 team. If you don't know by now, I'm talking about the 2011 VCU Rams, which many of my subscribers think is the best Cinderella run of all time. And by the end of the video, you'll be able to make that judgment yourself. How did VCU steal a bid to the dance, break everyone's bracket as a guinea pig to the new tournament format, and change the way we looked at March Madness forever? I'll say it once, I'll say it again, and I'll keep saying it. If you're new, just subscribe already. I'm an absolute animal in the month of March posting these Cinderella videos. We got George Mason, we got Wichita State, we got Loyola Chicago, and we got this. Make sure to check out all of those when you finish this one. Before their legendary run, VCU, or Virginia Commonwealth University, was just another mid-major team from the CAA, the same conference that was able to springboard George Mason to the Final Four 5 years earlier. But the Rams never had the same success. They were just a shadow of in-state schools like UVA and Virginia Tech. They had never been ranked in the AP Top 25. They had never even been past the second round of the NCAA tournament, and during the mid to late 2000s, VCU was an alright, a meh, mid-major program, that's it. But in 2009, the best thing ever happened to their program. The athletic department struck gold and hired head coach Shaka Smart. Now, it was risky. Smart was only 32 years old and had no previous head coaching experience at this level. But he had a vision, and it came to fruition. He implemented the famous Havoc defense, a ridiculous full-court press that turned games into chaos, speeding up other teams and causing turnovers. The system was perfect for a Cinderella team. It was fast, fearless, and built to overwhelm the more talented squads. But even with all of that said, nobody believed in VCU heading into 2011. In fact, they almost didn't even make the tournament, and if we're being real, they shouldn't have. So let's get into the controversy. VCU didn't win their conference tournament. They lost in the championship game against number 2 seeded Old Dominion. Okay, so they must have had a great record, right? Nope, 23-11, 12-6 in conference play, and the CAA 4 seed, nothing spectacular. All right, that's not amazing, so it must be the analytics. Well, their RPI was 49, which historically wasn't at-large worthy. Were they hot at least? Nope. They lost 5 of their last 8 games heading into Selection Sunday. Wow, so it must sound like I hate VCU. I don't hate VCU, guys. All right, more context is needed. In 2011, the field of 64 was expanded to 68. This was the implementation of what we know now as the first 4, where the last 4 teams to make it have play-ins to even get a chance in the first round. So let's say this VCU run was 1 year earlier in 2010. This never happened. Right place, right times. Anyways, even with the expansion, people thought VCU getting the right to play USC to become the 11th seed in the Southwest region was absolutely bogus. When the bracket was revealed, analysts lost their minds. Jay Billis, one of ESPN's most famous voices, said this on Selection Sunday. These are direct quotes. VCU should not be in the tournament. This is a joke. No one was considering them. And to be fair, he had a point. Other bubble teams like Colorado, Alabama, and Virginia Tech straight up had better resumes. But VCU wasn't listening to the noise. They just started hooping like crazy. As always, before I get into the run, we have to briefly talk about some of VCU's best players so everything makes sense. Joey Rodriguez, the senior point guard, he was the floor general of this team at 5'10", 175. He looked like he should have been running pickup games at LA Fitness, but he was the engine that made this team go. Bradford Burgess, the junior small forward, who became the NCAA all-time leader in consecutive starts, but for this year, he was the most reliable scorer in the tournament, averaging 15 in their Final Four run, and he was a nasty three-point shooter, 40% from behind the arc. Jamie Skeen, the senior big man transfer from Wake Forest, he played like he had a chip on his shoulder, and in a system built on guards and chaos, he was the guy who gave him the inside presence. Brandon Rozelle, the senior 6th man, he was also the microwave. If he got hot, it was basically game over. All right, I'm getting antsy talking about this, let's just get into the run itself. First four, VCU versus USC, the game that shouldn't have happened. USC had NBA first rounder Nikola Vucevic and was a 6.5-point favorite. The game was deadlocked at halftime, 22-22. Yeah, that's a snooze fest. 20 points at half is ridiculous, but in the second, VCU shut them down, forcing 15 total turnovers and running them out of the gym. The Trojans made one three-pointer the entire game. Jamie Skeen and Joey Rodriguez took over in the second half, and at this point, people thought, okay, cool, they won their play-in game, but they're done now. Nope. First round against 6-seeded Georgetown, and I bet no one was picking this as an 11-over-6 upset, but they should have because it was a bad combination. The Hoyas had lost 4 straight going into the tourney, while VCU was playing with their hair on fire. This game was just nasty. The Havoc defense forced 17 turnovers. Georgetown was uncomfortable the entire time. It was a start-to-finish whooping. See, at this point in time, if I was Jay Billis, I would have changed my identity, gone to a different country, and started a whole new life. Second round, VCU versus 3-seeded Purdue. Now, this Boilermaker team was top 10 all season long. They had NBA talent. They had the Big Ten Player of the Year, and yet VCU turned this into a track meet, pressing Purdue into 15 turnovers, and they dropped 94 points on their head top on a Big Ten team. Come on. Sweet 16 against 10th-seeded Florida State. Now, this was VCU's first close game of the tournament, and it's funny how it came against another team that was a double-digit seed. FSU was known as one of the best defensive teams in the country, led by big man Bernard James, who had 5 blocks this game. The Rams had a comfortable lead within 10 minutes remaining, but they let the Noles get right back into it. It could have ended right here, but OT we go. The game went to overtime. Burgess on the inbound pass. Yes. One more chance for the Noles. No, sir. Look at Shaka Smart jumping around like Mario. The Elite Eight against the Kings of the region, Kansas. Now, this was supposed to be the end of the road for VCU. The Jayhawks were the #1 seed and the most talented team in the country. The Morris twins were NBA-ready bigs. Kansas was a double-digit favor, and whoever did that was stupid. Were they not watching what VCU was doing to other teams? Anyways, let's get into it. VCU jumped out to a 41-27 halftime lead, one of the biggest shockers in the tournament. They hit 9 threes in the first half and completely shook the Jayhawks. The Havoc defense once again went nuts, forcing 14 KU turnovers, and it turned the game into an ugly, fast-paced nightmare, which is exactly what Shaka Smart planned the entire time. On offense for the Rams, Jamie Skeen was unstoppable. 26 points, 10 boards, and 10 made free throws. Kansas shot 2 of 21 from 3. That's it. Game over. Goodbye. By a margin of 10 points, it felt like VCU and Shaka Smart were sleepwalking to the Final Four. Number 11, VCU, and number 8, Butler. This is what I hate to see. The Final Four were 2 Cinderellas run into each other. If only they were on opposite ends of the bracket, we could have seen them both in a title. Anyway, Butler was the most battle-tested team left in the field. They had already taken down 1-seeded Pittsburgh and 2-seeded Florida in the Southeast region. VCU didn't have the clear advantage like they did in most of the previous games, but still hung in until the final minutes. But Butler executed better late and pulled away. Havoc finally ran out of steam, but still, VCU had pulled off one of the most ridiculous runs in NCAA history. They beat a team from 5 different power conferences. So why did this run change March Madness forever? Well, first of all, the first 4 was absolutely validated. Many were skeptical bumping the field to 68 teams. They were thinking, why do it? It's a waste of time. The last 4 in aren't going to be anything anyways. Nope. This changed fans' perspectives, the committee's perspective, and it also gave hope to these types of teams. Funny enough, a decade later in 2021, the UCLA Bruins became the second first 4 to Final Four team in NCAA tournament history. The VCU run changed the narrative that you have to be perfect as a mid-major to get a bid. Now, this wasn't the first team that taught us this, but again, each time a mid-major does this, their respect goes up the next time. VCU also showed us that outdated analytics like RPI weren't everything. Moving forward, the committee now uses more advanced metrics like the KenPom and the Net Evaluator tool to make these tough bubble decisions. Here's my opinion. In terms of sheer dominance, VCU is the best modern Cinderella run. However, if we're talking about aura, I still got to go with George Mason 10 times out of 10. What do you guys think? Go comment below and let me know what you want to see next.